Let's rank all 134 programs from easiest to hardest to rebuild in college football 25. If y'all are anything like me and super excited about the game and enjoy watching content on College Football 25, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, man, show love. This video is going to take a lot of time to make. It's going to be a longer video, but we're going to get through it, man. We're going to get through it, but let's go. So the way I'll do this, I'll go by each conference. I'll start with the SEC. I have two different screens, so, if I'm looking over here, I'm just looking at my other screen. Got a lot of different things going on to make this happen. So we're going to start with Alabama. Too easy. Obviously, too easy. Alabama, one of the top programs out there. Even with Nick Saban retiring, Caleb DeBoer coming in, still one of the top programs out there. So definitely going to be in the too easy category for us. Next, we'll do Arkansas, and we'll actually put Arkansas as hard. Arkansas went 4-8 last season. They are in the SEC. They had a pretty good quarterback last year. KJ Jefferson, but still only a 4-8 record. They play in a very tough conference. They went 1-7 in conference play. So we're gonna do hard for this team, man. I think you can dominate recruiting if done right, but I think this definitely will be a tougher rebuild. So we're gonna go with hard for that one. Next on the list, we're gonna go. Let's see what we find here. Florida. Let's do Florida, man. Florida is an interesting rebuild. They went 5-7 last year. Their school is on the hot seat, but I think this will be one of the easier rebuilds. But I think this will be a fun rebuild. I definitely think this will be a fun rebuild, especially with DJ coming in, the 5-star freshman quarterback. I think this will be a fun rebuild, but I think it will be an easy rebuild. A lot of talent in Florida. You definitely will be able to dominate recruiting. So I definitely think it'll be on the easier side, but a fun rebuild for sure. Next, we're going to do Georgia. Might as well do the easy ones, knock the easy ones out. Georgia, for obvious reason, super talented program. Kirby Smart, can't say enough about him. Great head coach. And, just probably one of the most talented programs out there. So, too easy is the easy one. Next, we're going to do Tennessee. And Tennessee is also going to go in the too easy category for me, man. They're just a powerhouse, man. They're just a powerhouse in every sense. They offensive line is great. Quarterback is great, 5-star. Going to be a very easy rebuild for you. You don't have to do much. You can win a national championship within 2 years with this team right here. So that's going to be an easy one. We're trying to fly through this, man. We don't want to be here all day. We're going to try to fly through this. Next, we're going to do Kentucky. Kentucky is an interesting one. They went 7-6 this past season. Where we going to pick Kentucky? I'll pick Kentucky as a medium rebuild. Definitely a medium rebuild in my book. Kentucky, a solid program, not a lot of talent, in the area, but they're in the SEC. Everyone know Kentucky. They're a big basketball school, so the logo is, logo definitely sells. But I think it'd be a medium rebuild. Definitely a medium rebuild. Who's next on our list? Let's see. LSU. Too easy. Definitely a too easy rebuild for LSU, man. Louisiana, a state that has so many different, athletes coming out. It's not much you have to do. You damn near could just get so many recruits off the LSU name. You don't even have to recruit super crazy in real life. So definitely will be a too easy rebuild. They did lose their starting quarterback Jaden Daniels, and then also 2 first-round receivers. But this is, their roster is super talented. Easy one for that. Next, we'll do Auburn. I missed that. Auburn, I'll do also as medium. A medium rebuild. They went 6-7 this past year, and they're a solid program. Also located in Alabama, so they're competing with, Alabama, the Red School. But I think it could be a solid rebuild. They're located in the South, so just so much different talent in that area. And taking Auburn back to the good old days could be fun, but I don't think it'd be too terribly difficult. All right, who's next? Let's see. What's the next school? We see Mississippi State, and Mississippi State 1-7 in conference play last year, 5-7 record. We're gonna pit them as a hard rebuild. Mississippi State. Tough rebuild, I believe, man. Tough rebuild. Roster is not super talented when you compare it to other SEC schools. You throw them in other conference, they'll be solid. But sadly, they're not in that other conference. So, have to get a lot of talent. They are located in the South, but Mississippi, which does produce a good amount of athletes, but You know, definitely not as much as some of these other southern states. Next, we're gonna go We're gonna go Oklahoma. Oklahoma, I'll put in the too easy category, and it's not that Oklahoma is more talented than LSU or more talented than some of these other schools, but they have a 5-star, I believe, 5 or 4-star Jackson Arnold quarterback. And then they're just a super talented roster, man. It's a super talented roster, coming off some good years. So we're just gonna go too easy for them. Keep it simple for that. Ole Miss will be another too easy. Ole Miss, they're returning their quarterback Jackson Dart, and they just have a super talented roster, man. Running back room is out this world, man. It's not much to say there. Just super talented roster. You could win the national championship in year one with Ole Miss. So I would say almost no point of rebuilding that school. We'll go A&M next. Texas A&M is an interesting one. Went 7-6 last year. A couple years ago, they had that number one, that crazy recruiting class, and everyone thought they was going to be out of this world, but they wasn't. they definitely wasn't. A lot of those recruits ended up transferring out. So a lot of different things going on at A&M. They got that oil money, but this is definitely a easy rebuild, almost too easy just because they got the oil money, man, big time program. They're located in Texas. Almost too easy, but we'll go with easy for that one. But one that we will pit too easy, Texas. Texas is a too easy rebuild. They have Arch Manning rated as an 87 overall, and he has not played one single down, which is, I think, is a little bit crazy. 87 overall, I get it. He was a 5-star, I think the number one recruit in his class, but 87 overall for him seems a little bit crazy. So even after your Quinn Ewers not retired, go to the NFL after the season, you have after progression, you'll probably have a 90+ quarterback. So, and Texas could win a national championship this year. So definitely a too easy rebuild. Next, we'll go Missouri. Let's go Missouri. Missouri is another too easy rebuild, man. Missouri, a lot of these SEC schools are too easy. Missouri is a dominant program right now, surprisingly. I say surprisingly just because there's so many dominant programs in the SEC. So to see Missouri actually taking over right now is a little bit surprising, but it's good. It's good. I think it's good for college football. They return their top wide receiver, I believe Luther, and then also they return their quarterback. I think Brady Cook is his name, I believe. And they had a phenomenal offense last year. They did lose their DC, who went to LSU. So, their defense might regress a little bit. But definitely a top program. Like I said, last year they ended up going 11-2, 6-2 in conference play. We're going to put that as an easy rebuild for them. So, South Carolina, 5-7 last year. We'll throw this. I want to throw in the hard category, but we're going to throw it in the medium. I don't think it'll be too terribly difficult. I think this will certainly be a fun rebuild. I don't think it'll be too difficult. South Carolina, it's some talent in that area. You're able to dominate in recruiting. Only SEC school really in that area. So I think you could actually dominate in recruiting. And I don't think it would be too terribly of a rebuild, South Carolina. Next, let's find Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's an easy one. That's the only too hard I would pit in the SEC. Vanderbilt, man. Tough. They're in a tough position. 2-10 this past season. 0-8 in conference play. 0-8 in conference play is tough. It's certainly tough. But it's what it is, man. Vanderbilt has always been a baseball school, not very good at football, and it's gonna be tough to change that. Very tough to change that. But I think it'll be definitely a very fun rebuild. But that's all the SEC schools, man. All the SEC schools. Let's go into the next conference. All right, so next we're going to go to the ACC. We're going to start off with Florida State. We're going to throw them in a too easy category for obvious reasons. 13-1 record this past season, 8-0 in conference play. They bring in the number 2 recruiting class in the 2024 cycle. Definitely a program that could have been in the college playoff, whatever. I think I'm blanking on the name, but they definitely could have made the Final Four teams, but they got left out, obviously, because their quarterback got hurt. So too easy, in the Florida area, great area. We're not going to spend too much time on that one right there. But definitely could be, I wouldn't say a fun program, but definitely could be an interesting program right there. Next, we're going to do Louisville. Louisville. So we're gonna throw them in an easy category. I'm not gonna do too easy. They went 10-4 last season, 7-1 record. You know they're still a little bit away to get them to where they want to be as far as like being a national champion contender. So I'll put them in the easy category, but they're not super far. They're not super far. You definitely could get there. I feel like in a few years, probably 2-3 years in the rebuild, and you pretty much at that point. Their recruiting class this past cycle, 13th, ranked 13th in the conference, which is not great, but yeah, you definitely could get there with that team. Next, we're gonna go NC State. We're gonna go NC State. I think NC State is actually a too easy, honestly. You know, worse record than Louisville, but they went 9-4. They also bring in a very solid recruiting class, fifth ranked recruiting class in the conference, and just a solid team that's on the rise. I think rebuilding them would not be super difficult just because the area you in, you know, you got some athletes, some talented athletes in that area. Definitely pick the recruiting pitch. I love the logo, love the uniforms. I think this would be a too easy rebuild in my category. Next, we're going to go Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech is honestly in the easy category for me just because you're in Georgia. The school has some pretty good history, man. And just such a talented area of recruits. You know, Georgia produced so many athletes. I think it would be easy to dominate recruiting in that area. And you know, the program wasn't terrible last year. 7-4, 5-3 in conference play, and they bring in the 7th ranked recruiting class in the conference, which is okay. It could be better. I expect it actually to be better for Georgia Tech, but not terrible. Next, we're gonna do Clemson, and too easy category for obvious reasons. Rich blood, got Dabble there right now, but you know you'll be taking over the program, but you'll be taking over a great roster that's not far. So too easy. I think that's an easy one right there. Next, we're gonna do Virginia Tech, and we're gonna do hard for Virginia Tech actually. You know, 7-4 record last season, which is solid for Virginia Tech. 5-3 in conference play. They bring in the number 6 recruiting classes next year. I'm actually moving them up to medium after thinking about it a little bit more. You know, Virginia, interesting area, not super talented when it comes to recruiting, but you definitely will have to explore other options. You know, whether you tap into the New York pipeline. Stowe might be too far from Virginia, but definitely got to tap into some different pipelines to rebuild this program. So we're gonna put that in the medium category. I think depending on the person, that could be hard or medium. Next, we're gonna do North Carolina. And North Carolina, I kind of want to put it in the too easy, but we're gonna put it in the easy category just because they lost a lot. You know, they lost their starting quarterback, and even with their, you know, Drake May, great quarterback, great college quarterback. We'll see what he do in the NFL. They went 8-5 last year with one of the top quarterbacks in the whole draft. And obviously, you know, it's not just the quarterback, but good quarterbacks win. You know, good quarterbacks win in college football. And 8-5 is what it is. So we're gonna do easy, but I think you definitely could turn this roster around pretty quickly and compete for a national championship within a couple years with that team. We're gonna do the U. The U is Miami is too easy just because the roster is already talented. You're going to dominate in recruiting just because the university you at, you know, big time school, rich, and has some pretty good history, championship contender, you know, all that, and a lot of talented recruits come from the Florida area. So we're going to do too easy. That's an easy one. Let's not spend too much time on that one. We're going to do Boston College, man. Boston College. I'm going to go hard. Boston College is an interesting program. They went 7-4 this past year. I believe the year before that they had a pretty bad record. But Boston College, not super talented roster in my opinion. Not super talented. But I think rebuilding them, you really would have to tap into that New York pipeline. You know, really pull some recruits from out of there. Because you know, you can do your thing in Boston, but I think you really want to focus on New York. So we're gonna go with hard. I think that would be one of the harder rebuilds. Next on the list, let's do Duke, the Blue Devils. Duke, we're going to do medium for Duke. We're going to do medium. Just not really a football school, you know. Known for basketball. They actually had a 8-5 record last year, 4-4 in conference play. So, you know, they're doing their thing to be Duke, but they bring in the 14th ranked recruiting class out of 17 schools. Not great. Not great at all. So definitely could make some improvements there, but it is what it is. Next, we'll do Syracuse, and I almost want to put Syracuse. I want to put Syracuse in the easy category because I really think you could dominate the recruiting in New York, and then also even PA, and then even like Jersey a little bit. I think you could really dominate recruiting in this with Syracuse. And really a program on the rise. Their roster is not terrible, man. Their roster is not terrible at all. They got Kyle McCord coming over from Ohio State as their starting quarterback. So roster is okay. So I'll do easy. I think that'll be one of the easier rebuilds. So actually, I'm looking at last year conferences. So we're just gonna finish off, last year conferences, which is Pitt, and we're gonna go ahead throw Pitt into. Damn, Pitt is a hard rebuild. Is it too hard? It can't be too hard. We're gonna throw Pitt in the hard category. Almost want to go too hard for that just because they're in a tough spot. 3-9 record last year. One of the bottom schools in the conference. They had Kenny Pickett a few years ago and they still wasn't very good with him. But I think you could do pretty good in the PA area. Your biggest contenders is Penn State. And Penn State, I honestly don't recruit Pennsylvania how they should in real life. They don't dominate Pennsylvania. I seen out of the top 8 recruits, Penn State got 0 of them for this current cycle, which is interesting. So I think Pitt could, really take over the PA recruiting and really get some recruits, a lot of recruits on campus. So we're gonna go hard, almost want to go too hard, but we're just gonna go hard for that. Then we're gonna do Virginia, and we're gonna throw Virginia in the too hard category. All the V schools in the too hard category. Bad roster, 3-9 last season, 2-6 in conference play. Just not a great roster right now. And then also you got to compete with Virginia Tech. You kind of little brother to Virginia Tech, and they right now they had the 15th, or excuse me, last year they had the 15th ranked recruiting class in the conference. So the roster is just not super talented at all. And then next we'll do Wake Forest, and we'll do Wake Forest in the hard category, man. And 7-1 in conference play, 4-8 in overall record. They bring in the 11th ranked recruiting class in conference. 1 4-star recruit. The roster not super talented, but I think you could rebuild this program easier than these two down here. So I will go with the hard category with that program. Now we're on to the next conference. All right, next we're gonna move into last year's Big Ten. We're gonna start with Michigan, and we're gonna throw them in the too easy category. Shouldn't be much I have to say there. National championship, good roster. They're gonna fall off a little bit from last season as expected, with a bunch of their program or a bunch of their athletes going to the NFL. But still a very too easy rebuild there. Next, let's do Ohio State. Ohio State will also be an easy one that will go in the too easy category if I could find them. There they are. Too easy. Really good program. 11-2, rich blood. Not much to say there. It's just gonna be a very easy rebuild. You could win the championship year one. Penn State will also do too easy. Same things. Very good program. They're kind of the little brother to Ohio State and Michigan, sadly. I'm from Pennsylvania, so I want Penn State to, at least be somewhat competitive, or not competitive, but, actually beat some of these other schools, Michigan, Ohio State, but of late, haven't been able to do it. So, but still a too easy rebuild. One recruiting cycle, 1 year, you could definitely win a championship with that roster. Next, we're going to do Maryland. And Maryland's interesting for me. I'll throw Maryland in the easy, more of the easier route, just because I think they could dominate that DMV recruiting area. Pick the recruiting archetype. I think you would be perfect for Maryland. They got the Under Armour school. I love the jerseys, love the uniform, love the whole stadium that they play in. 8-5 record last season, 4-5 in conference play. And their recruiting class last year was ranked 13th in the conference, which is not great, but it's a lot of competition in this conference. It was pretty close. So 13th is not terrible, seeing how close all the recruiting rankings were. So on to the next one. Next we'll do Rutgers. Good old Rutgers, right down the road from Philly, where I'm from. And I'll throw Rutgers in the hard category. We'll throw them in the medium. We'll throw Rutgers in the medium category, actually. So my thought process behind that 7-6 record, 3-6 in the conference. You know, a lot of big dogs in this conference, and Rutgers definitely will struggle to compete with them at first. But once you are able to take over recruiting in the New York area, then also New Jersey, and then also you're able to tap into Pennsylvania recruiting, I think you could really turn this roster around in a couple years. So yeah, I'll throw that in the medium category. Next, we got Michigan State. Michigan State. And Michigan State, we'll throw them in the hard category. 4-8 record last year. Not a great season for them guys. Their whole thing that went on with their head coach, him getting fired out, that whole scandal. 8-7. A lot of their players, 8-7 in conference play. Excuse me. A lot of their players also transfer out. We're gonna do a hard rebuild for them. Little brother of Michigan, but I think you could definitely turn the program around with time. But yeah, definitely will be one of the harder rebuilds. And this may be the hardest. This will be the hardest rebuild in the conference. This night school, Indiana. Not a great roster. 3-9 overall record. 1-8 in conference play. This past year, they had the 16th ranked recruiting class in the conference out of 18 schools. So, just not a good roster, not in a great location for recruits. So, definitely would just be one of the tougher rebuilds to turn around Indiana right there. And, hey, they may get Julian Lewis, and, that may change, but I doubt it. Next, we have Iowa. Interesting team, Iowa. We'll do easy. I think Iowa. I want to do too easy, but we'll do easy just because their offense is so bad. Defense is great. They have probably the best middle linebacker in the country on their team, and but their offense is not very good, not very good at all. So definitely will be an easy rebuild. Especially if you're a good offensive player, and if you're actually playing the games, I think that'll make it even easier. But quarterback room have a lot of questions about that. So we're gonna throw them in the easy category. Next, we're gonna do Northwestern. And we're gonna do Northwestern in the easy category. Again, an okay roster. 8-5 last year. 5-4 in conference play. But their recruiting class they brought in is the worst in the conference. 18th ranked recruiting class in the conference, and they went 8-4 last season. Super interesting. That's super interesting how that happens. But it's only recruiting rankings. Recruits could turn out way better than where they actually rated. But we'll throw them in the easy category just because that roster is in a solid spot. Next, we have Wisconsin, the Badgers. And Wisconsin, 7-6 record. We'll throw them in the medium category. 7-6 record, 5-4 in conference play, which is actually pretty solid. Whoa, my mouse is going crazy. 5-4 in conference play, and 6th ranked recruiting class in the conference, which is pretty good. And we'll throw them in the medium category. Solid program. Shouldn't be too hard to turn them around. I'll say 2-3 years, and you should be competing for a national championship. Next, we'll do Nebraska. And we'll throw Nebraska in the easy category just because rich blood, they have a 5-star freshman quarterback, so you don't have to worry about recruiting the quarterback position at all. And their roster is really on the rise. Their defense is very solid defense, and a lot of analysts out there are predicting them in the top 25 when the preseason polls drop, when the preseason rankings drop. So Nebraska would definitely be an easier rebuild, but will be a fun rebuild. I think. I definitely think that would be a fun rebuild. Next, we'll do Purdue. Let's do Purdue. Purdue will be a hard rebuild. Not a great roster. Not a great roster at all. 4-8 last year. The year before that, they did make a bowl game, which is solid. 3-6 in conference play. They bring the number 9th ranked recruiting class in the conference, which is not terrible. And a lot of 3 stars. A lot of 3 stars in this class. But we'll do a hard rebuild. Definitely hard. Not too hard, but definitely more on the difficult side. Next, we'll do Illinois. And we'll throw them in a medium category. 5-7 in conference, overall record. 3-6 in conference play, and they bring in the 14th ranked recruiting class. And they do have a 4-star, coming in, but just not a great roster. Medium, just because I think you'll be able to dominate that area. You'll be able to get some high quality recruits with time. I think you could really take over. But we'll do medium for that program. Next we'll do Minnesota. I'm really I'm really struggling to find some of these programs, man. There we go. Right in front of my face. We're gonna throw Minnesota in the medium category. Damn. Yeah, medium category. 6-7 last season. Did make a bowl game. 3-6 in conference play. 10th rated recruiting class in the conference. And their roster is not in a bad spot at all. The roster not in a terrible spot. And I think you could really turn this program around in a few years. The only thing is the location is not ideal. Recruits in that area is not ideal, but I think you could definitely make it work. On to the next conference. All right, so next we'll jump to the Big 12. And we already did Texas. Like I said, we're doing last year conferences. So we'll do Oklahoma State first. And we'll throw them in the – I want to throw them in the too easy. We'll throw them in the too easy category, just because I think they'll be the top program from this past conference, or from this last year conference. And yeah, just a talented roster. Not too much you have to do there. Already the roster is already there. So just bring in 1-2 recruiting classes and really just dominate on the field, and you'll be fine. The roster is not that far away at all. Next, we will do Iowa State. Where you guys at, Iowa State? Iowa State will throw in the medium category. Not super talented, in an interesting location. Also competing with Iowa. They went 7-6 last year, 6-3 in conference play, which is fairly solid. 13th ranked recruiting class last year. Not bad, not terrible when actually looking at the ratings of some of their athletes. But 13th is not ideal, but not terrible. But we'll throw them in the medium category. Next we have Kansas State. K-State. We're gonna throw K-State in the easy category. K-State is an easy rebuild. 9-4 record last year. 3-6 in conference play. The roster is not bad at all. They added Dylan Edwards from Colorado, 5th ranked recruiting class last year. They added a bunch of transfers in the portal. This is a solid roster. You could probably turn this around in a couple years. Won't take too much. So we'll definitely throw that in the easier category. Next, we'll do West Virginia, which is surprisingly, for me at least, I would say an easier rebuild at this point. If I could find them, wow. West Virginia, there we go. We'll throw them in the easy category. It's either between easy or medium, honestly, but I'm gonna throw them in the easy category for now. They went 9-4 last year, 3-6 in conference play. And they bring in the 8th ranked recruiting class. 0 4-stars is a little bit concerning, but it is what it is. But this is a solid roster. This roster is not too far away, so we'll throw them in the easy category for now. Next, we'll do Texas Tech. Texas Tech will definitely also go in the easy category for me. This school is obviously in Texas, so they'll have some of the best recruits in the whole nation in their state. So that just makes recruiting so much easier. And went 7-6 last year, 5-4 in conference play, and their recruiting ranking was number 1 last year. They brought in 4 5-stars and one 5-star and 4 4-stars. So very solid recruiting. Like I said, number 1 recruiting ranking in the state. So we're definitely gonna put them in the easy. Category. Next, we have UFC. UFC, I would put in the medium category, but I would put in the fun category. I would definitely put in the fun category for sure. KJ Jefferson transferred there from Arkansas. You know, they compare him to the mini Cam Newton. So, you know, take that how you want. So, you'll get him for, I believe, 1 year, maybe 2 years. He may have 2 years of eligibility. But definitely will be a fun rebuild playing with him. And they brought in a bunch of transfers. They're located in Florida, obviously. So, you know, recruiting should be pretty easy. So, we'll throw them in the medium category for now just because I think they're fun. I really think that'll be one of the more fun rebuilds out there. Next, we'll do TCU. And surprisingly, I'm going to throw TCU in the medium category. Almost throw them in the hard, but I'll throw them in the medium category. They was in the national championship a few years ago. I believe 2020 they was in the national championship the year before last. And they got blown out by Georgia. But this past year they went 5-7. 5-7 and 3-6 in conference play. And their recruiting class is third, which is not terrible, but you know, that's coming off the national championship, so that's why they had the third ranked recruiting class. So this upcoming year, I imagine it'll be worse. But you know, definitely had a big drop off, such a big drop off from that national championship season. Same coach, only difference is, you know, less players. You know, lost their quarterback and a bunch of other players went to the NFL. So I'll throw this in the medium category. It's almost in the easy category, really, when you think about they're in Texas and you know, they really could dominate the area and bring a lot of home recruits in. So we'll throw them in the medium category for now, though. Next, we'll do Houston. Houston is a hard program to rebuild right now. You know, common theme here. A lot of these programs are medium to easy. You know, we got, and then the hard programs are, you know, not as many of them. But we'll throw Houston in the hard category. 4-8 last season, 2-7 in conference play. The good thing about Houston, they're in Texas, so a lot of talent in the area. That's the thing with so many Texas schools out there. But 14th ranked recruiting class last year, not great at all, especially for being located in Texas. But so many good Texas schools. It's hard to dominate recruiting in Texas when there's so many different, you know, schools in your state. But yeah, we'll throw them in the hard category for now. Next, we'll do BYU. BYU. We'll throw BYU in the hard category, man. BYU is a harder program to rebuild. Ever since they had Zach Wilson a few years ago, not too much going on at BYU. 5-7 this past season, 2-7 in conference play. They brought in the 7th ranked recruiting class, which is not terrible. 2 4-stars, solid, but definitely a hard rebuild in my opinion. Next, we'll do Baylor. I want to throw Baylor in the too hard, but they're located in Texas, so we'll put them in the hard category. So you know, Texas, I think all the Texas schools are just at such an advantage. So we'll throw them in the hard category, but just not a great roster. 3-9 last season, 2-7 in conference play. The 15th ranked recruiting class this past year, which is crazy to be located in Texas to have, you know, such a bad recruiting class. But the one school that we will pit in the too hard category, Cincinnati. Too hard. 3-9, 1-8 in conference play. Just not a great roster at all. You know, probably will have the worst roster in their conference again this upcoming year. But recruiting class was ranked 11th in the conference. But yeah, just not a super talented program, and also not in a great area when it comes to recruiting. But on to the next conference. All right, next we'll go to last year's AAC. We'll start with SMU. And we'll put them in the easy category. Another Texas school. They do a good job of bringing a lot of their in-state talent home. They went 11-3 last season, 8-0 in the conference. We'll definitely throw them in the easy category. Not too easy, but definitely easy. After that, damn, my mouse is bugging out, y'all. After that, we'll go to, let's see. We'll go to Tulane. Let's do Tulane. Tulane, I think, is a fun rebuild, but they're easy. I think they're definitely an easier rebuild, man. Definitely think they're an easy rebuild. They went 11-3 last year, but their head coach left one. Their quarterback also went to the NFL, and they lost a bunch of players to the portal, obviously, with their head coach leaving. A bunch of their players went to Houston with their head coach. So we'll throw them in the easy category because they're in Louisiana. And Louisiana has a lot of recruits. They're in the South, and just a lot of home talent. And then also you can tap into the Texas pipeline, bunch of things like that. And so I think it's definitely a program that's on the easier side to rebuild. But I definitely think it'll be fun. Next we go to UTSA. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. Wow. Let's go UTSA. Where you guys at? There you go. We'll throw UTSA in the easy category. Another Texas school here. 9-4 in the 9-4 record, 7-1 in the conference, and their recruiting class 11th in the conference. Not great at all, especially when you consider they're in Texas. But it is what it is. It is what it is for sure. But I think this will be an easier rebuild. Roster is not too far away. And, if you want to move them to another conference, I think that'd be perfect. Moving them up to a Power 4 conference, I think would be perfect for this program. Next, we'll do Memphis. Memphis will be another easy program. Where's Memphis at? Yeah. Whoa. Memphis. Memphis will be another easy program to rebuild. 10-3 record, 6-2 in conference. Trying to look at and then 4th in the conference when it comes to recruiting rankings last year. 1 4-star. Not many 4-stars went to this conference at all. Only 3. Only 3 4-stars went to the whole conference, which is a little crazy to think about. But point is, I think this will be one of the easier rebuilds. They could dominate recruiting in their area. Not super talented Memphis, when it comes to recruits, but definitely could dominate that area and do some special things. Then another school we'll do is South Florida. South Florida is next. There we go. I'll throw South Florida in the medium category. Almost want to throw them in the easy just because they're in Florida. Their roster is not terrible. 7-6 last season, 4-4 in conference. And they bring in the number 1 recruiting class in the conference. One of the only 4-stars went to their school. I'm throwing them in the easy category. I can't lie. They go in the easy category for me, man. Yeah, definitely going in the easier category after seeing that number 1 recruiting class. So they're bringing the most high school. Yep, yeah. They're definitely going number 1. Yeah, they might win the conference next year. Knock on wood. I don't want to predict anything, but definitely a super talented roster, and I think they'll be one of the easier schools to rebuild. Next, we'll do Rice. Let's do Rice. Another Texas school. Man, so many Texas schools in here, man. We'll do medium though. Rice is kind of little brother to every, damn near every other Texas school out there. 6-7 in record last season. 4-4 in conference play. Their recruiting class 12th. The only worst recruiting class was Navy, and not by much. Not by much. So we're gonna definitely put them in the medium category. But that roster is not horrible, but definitely could make some improvements. I definitely think you could get there pretty soon. Next we'll do Navy. Why not? Next we'll do Navy. There we go. I know y'all screaming, Navy's right there. Navy's right there. We'll put Navy in the too hard category. Just because they're a military school, they're not even allowed to offer kids scholarships. They're not allowed to take transfer students. They're just not allowed to. You can't transfer into Navy. You could transfer out, but you can't transfer in. But actually went 5-7 last year, 4-4 in conference. They bring in the worst recruiting class in the conference as expected. They can't offer NIL deals. You can't get NIL deals if you go to any of the military schools. So we'll put them too hard. Definitely put them in the too hard category. Next, we'll go to North Texas. North Texas, we'll put them in the hard category. North Texas, 5-7 last year, 3-5 in conference play. North Texas is an interesting school. They went 8-5 last year. I actually like their jerseys. They bring in 29 recruits, 27 3-stars. Other 2 are no stars. But they're bringing a lot of athletes. I will say they are bringing a lot of athletes, but they're located in Texas. But I still think this will be a tougher rebuild just because of that North Texas area. Then also, it's just so many other Texas schools that you have to compete with. It'll be tough. It'll be tough, but definitely doable. I think this would be a fun rebuild. I haven't seen many people talk about North Texas honestly, but I definitely think it'll be a fun rebuild. Next, we're gonna do Florida Atlantic, and we'll throw Florida Atlantic in the hard category. Well, no, excuse me, medium. I actually want to do medium for Florida Atlantic. The Owls 4-8 last year, 3-5 in conference. Recruiting class ranked ninth. Roster is just not super talented right now. They don't bring in a lot of recruits. Ninth overall ranked recruiting class in the conference. Not bringing in many recruits at all. But yeah, I'll throw them in the medium category. I think they would be a fun rebuild. You definitely could have some Florida pipelines, and definitely could take over recruiting in Florida if done right. But I definitely think it'll be one of the harder rebuilds. Next, let's do UAB. UAB, we'll throw UAB in the hard category. I wasn't expecting them to be that far down. We'll throw them in the hard category. Located in Alabama, and they competing with the University of competing with Alabama, and it's hard. That's tough. That's tough. But the good thing is there is talented recruits in that area, so you definitely could win your fair share of recruiting battles. But going up against Alabama, it will be tough winning some of the recruiting battles, especially as UAB. Facilities, not the best, but I think you definitely could have some fun with this rebuild. This definitely would be one of the harder ones, but not too hard. Definitely not too hard. Next, we'll do Charlotte. Charlotte. We'll throw Charlotte in the too hard category. Roster is just not super talented right now. They went 3-9 last year, 2-6 in conference play. They actually bring in a solid recruiting class, six ranked recruiting class in the conference, which is solid. But yeah, just not a super talented roster. We'll throw them in the too hard category for sure. Next, we have Tulsa. We'll throw Tulsa in a hard category. I don't think they'll be too overwhelming, but definitely will be a hard rebuild. 4-8 last season, 2-6 in conference play, and they're the number 2 ranked recruiting class from this past cycle, which is pretty impressive for Tulsa. So we'll throw them in the hard category. I don't think it'll be too overwhelming, but you're definitely in the hard category. Next, we'll do my Temple Owls. I'm doing my rebuild with Temple. If y'all made it this far in the video, man, drop a like, drop a comment saying y'all made it this far in the video. We'll throw Temple in the hard category, man. Definitely a hard school to rebuild. A lot of down years for my program, man. But we're on the rise. Definitely will be a hard rebuild. 3-9 last season, 1-7 in conference play, 7th ranked recruiting class this past year. Do bring in a solid amount of athletes, but yeah, will be a hard rebuild. Will be a fun rebuild. And if y'all want to see it, make sure y'all check out my channel. Make sure y'all sub because day one I will be dropping that video. Next, we have East Carolina. Too hard. Too hard rebuild. 2-10 last season, 1-7 in conference play, and their recruiting class was 5th ranked recruiting class, which is not terrible, but not nothing special. Definitely not nothing special, but certainly will be a hard rebuild. You can have some success in that Carolina area recruiting, but it definitely will be on the too hard side. All right, next conference. All right, next we go to Conference USA. We're going to start off with Liberty. We're going to throw them in the too easy category. Very good team, 13-1 last year. They was ranked throughout the season. This is a good program. Not much to say here. Malik Willis, old school. Too easy. Definitely too easy. Next we'll go with New Mexico State. I was actually thinking about rebuilding this school, man, but we'll throw them in the easy category. Roster is not terrible. 10-5 last season. 7-1 in conference play. They bring in the 8th ranked recruiting class, which is not great compared to when you consider there's only 10 teams in the conference. So certainly not great when it comes to recruiting, but I mean, you're in New Mexico. What can you expect? But I'll throw them on the easier side just because their roster is not too far. Almost want to move them to medium just because where they're located, but we'll keep them in the easy category. Next, we'll do Jacksonville State. To be honest with you guys, don't know too much about this program. Don't know too much about them. But I'll throw them in the medium category just because they went 9-4 last year, 6-2 in conference play. Their recruiting ranking was 9th overall last year. But like I said, I don't know too much about this roster, to be honest with you guys. So we're going to throw them in the medium category. Next, we'll do Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky. I actually love their logo. Everyone loved Big Red. How do you hate Big Red? How do you hate Big Red? We're going to throw Big Red in the medium category just because, it's Big Red. And on Western Kentucky, 8-5 last season, 5-3 in conference play. 4th ranked recruiting class this past year. Roster is in a solid spot. They got Big Red, so I'll definitely encourage you to, pick this program. We'll throw them in the medium category. Next, we do Middle Tennessee. Little brother to Tennessee. And we'll throw them also in the medium category. No, we'll throw them in the medium category. We'll throw them in the medium category. That's a 4-8 team last year. 3-5 in conference play. They bring in the 5th ranked recruiting class from this past year. You're competing with Tennessee, the big dogs. The big dogs. But I think it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. Just had to dominate. Just have to dominate on the field and, win recruits over. But I think it's definitely possible. Definitely will be a fun rebuild. I'll throw them in the medium category. Next, we'll go LA Tech. LA Tech. Just because where they're located, I'm throwing them in the medium category. Roster is not in a great spot at all. Roster is not in a great spot. 3-9 last season, 2-6 in conference play. Recruiting class is second. Second ranked recruiting class from this past cycle. And that's because, it's a lot of talent in Louisiana. A lot of talent in Louisiana. So, we'll throw them in the medium category. They could be medium to hard, somewhere in that area. But we'll settle on medium for now. Sam Houston is next. And Sam Houston is a tough one. Also located in a great area for a lot of recruits. But 3-9 last season, 2-6 in conference play. And then they bring in the worst recruiting class in the conference. Crazy. You have a worse recruiting class than New Mexico and you're located in Texas. Crazy. So we're going to throw them as a hard rebuild. I think, this will be certainly a fun rebuild. I haven't seen too many people talking about Sam Houston, but we'll throw them in a hard category. Next, we have UTEP. UTEP will also be a challenging rebuild. We'll throw them in hard. Oop. Yep, it went hard. We'll throw them in hard. Also another Texas school. They had the number 3rd ranked recruiting class this cycle, which is solid. But just looking at some of their athletes, not super impressed by anything I see there right now. No offense to anyone, but we'll throw them in the hard category. I think it'll be an interesting rebuild. I actually like their colorways. Like some of their jerseys, but we'll throw them in the hard category. I think it'll be a fun rebuild, but throw them in the hard for now. Next, we have Florida International, the Panthers, man. We got the Panthers. Where are they at? FIU. FIU will also go in the hard category, man. Last school in the conference this past cycle went 4-8, 1-7 in conference play. They bring in the number 6 ranked recruiting class, and not many recruits at all. Not many recruits they're bringing in. We'll throw them in the hard category. This will certainly be a hard rebuild. Won't be too overwhelming, but definitely will be a hard rebuild. On to the next one. Next, let's just knock out the independents. We'll go with Notre Dame. We'll throw them into 2 easy for obvious reasons. Rich blood, solid roster. A lot of good things going on in Notre Dame. They do very good for recruiting, and you could just pick up where they left off. And you could compete for a national championship this year with that roster. So we'll throw them in the 2 easy category. Next, we'll throw Army in the 2 hard. Another military school. We'll throw Army and we'll throw all these teams in the 2 hard, actually. Army, we'll do UConn, and then we'll also do Massachusetts. And this is all the independent schools. We'll also throw UMass in that too hard category if I could find them. So all these schools are. We'll focus on the military school first. Army, just can't recruit. Just can't recruit. They're located in upstate New York, and you can't take transfers. You can't offer scholarships really, and you can't get NIL deals. Hard to recruit. Super hard to recruit these athletes. So definitely a hard program. UConn, just not a good football school. Just not. They're a basketball school. they're a basketball school. 3-9 last season, and really nothing special there. Not in a great area when it comes to recruiting. Same thing with UMass. 3-9 also last season, also just not in a great area when it comes to recruiting. So definitely will be in the too hard category, but will be fun rebuilds. Will be long rebuilds. All these too hards will take a long time to rebuild that program. Next on our list. Next conference. All right, next we'll go to the Mid-American Conference. We'll start off with Miami, Ohio. We'll throw them in the easy. Good, solid roster. 11-3 last season. 7-1 in conference play is what stands out to me. Very, very solid roster. As far as recruiting last season, they were third in the conference in recruiting, which is solid. Not great, but solid for sure. But yeah, we'll throw them in the easy category. Roster is just not too far away. I think in a few years, you really could do something with that team. Next we go Ohio Bobcats. The Bobcats. Don't know too much about this team. We'll throw them in the medium category just because I don't know much about them. All the teams I don't know much about, I'll be honest, I'll throw them in the medium category. 10-3 last season though. This might be an easier team to rebuild, but 10-3 last season, 6-3 in conference. 6-2 in conference play. 5th overall ranked recruiting class. Don't know much about them. Medium for me. Next, Bowling Green. Bowling Green will also go into medium for me. If I could find them, Bowling Green. There we go. Bowling Green. 7-6 last season, 5-3 in conference play. Last season, their recruiting ranking was 10th overall in the conference. Not great, but this would not be a terribly tough rebuild just because their roster is not super far away. Next, we'll go to Eastern Michigan. And we'll throw them in also the medium category. Just a mediocre roster right now. 6-7, 4-4 in conference play. Nothing special there. They do bring in the 4th ranked recruiting class in the conference, so that's good. But nothing special there. I don't think it'll be too overwhelming rebuilding them. You are competing with some of the other big dogs in Michigan, but I think you could definitely can compete. Next we'll do Buffalo Bulls. We'll do the Bulls. The Bulls will be a tough one. Hard. Won't do too hard. Thought about too hard. We'll do hard. 3-9 last season. 3-5 in conference play. Not great. Not great here. 9th overall ranked recruiting class in the conference. Not great. Roster is far away, but I think you could definitely could get there. Next we'll do Akron, and Akron will be a bad program. Too hard. Akron will be a too hard program. 2-10 last season. Not a good record. 1-7 in conference play. Akron is just not a very good football school, honestly. 11th ranked recruiting class. Brought in 18 athletes. That's it. Least amount of athletes in the whole conference they brought in. So, yeah, definitely a lot of work to do there. There definitely will be a long rebuild, as well as Kent State. I remember when Sean Lewis was there and they actually was on the up and up, but not no more. Now they're on the down. 1-11 last year. This is going to be one of the worst teams, one of the worst rated teams probably in the game. 0-8 in conference play last season. Recruiting ranking, brought in the 8th ranked recruiting class this past year. Just not a good roster right now. Not a good roster right now. Definitely will be one of the longer rebuilds, but you're not in a terrible area in Kent State. So I definitely think you could turn it around out in Ohio. But definitely will be a tough rebuild. Next, we'll do Tito. And this is a solid roster. Easy. Definitely easy. 11-3, 8-0 in conference play. They also bring in the number one recruiting class. This is a team that know what they're doing, not too far away. They could slip into one of these 12-team playoffs one year. We'll definitely do 12-3. You'll be able to compete for national championship within a few seasons if you do it right with this roster. Next, we'll do North Illinois. And we'll throw them in the medium category. Just a mediocre roster right now. 7-6 last year. Did make a bowl game. 5-3 in conference play. They bring in the 6th ranked recruiting class. We'll throw them in the medium category, not super far away. Next, we'll do Western Michigan, and that will be hard. Western Michigan will be harder. I know we just did Eastern Michigan. So next we have Western Michigan. They will go in the hard category. 4-8 last season, 3-5 in conference play. Then recruiting rankings is actually second in the conference. Solid. But we'll be one of the harder rebuilds, worse than Eastern Michigan in my opinion. But definitely will be a hard rebuild. Won't be too hard though. Next we'll do Ball State. Ball So Hard University, man. And Ball State will also be a difficult rebuild. Won't be too over the top, but 4-8 last year, 3-5 in conference play. Last ranked recruiting class this past cycle, not great. Certainly not great at all. And then we'll end it with Central Michigan for this conference. And they will also go in the hard category, not too hard. 5-7 last season, 3-5 in conference play, 7 ranked recruiting class. So many different Michigan schools here. They're all hard to medium. Nothing too hard, but they're all pretty much hard to medium in my opinion. On to the next conference. Next we have last year's Mount West Conference. We'll start with Boise. Let's start with Boise. The blue field. I personally like the blue field. They bring in a 5-star. Former 5-star. Who did they get? Was it Dante Moore? They bring in a former 5-star, and one of the first 5 stars in school history. So definitely will put them on the easier side. I actually like this team. Who don't like the blue field? Who don't like the blue field and the jerseys? But we'll put them as an easier rebuild. Next we have San Jose. The Spartans. Where are they at? We filling up, y'all. We filling up, you guys. Next, we do medium. Throw them in the medium category. 7-6 last season, 6-2 in conference play. They bring in the 7th ranked recruiting class. Solid. Also on Boise State, they had the number 1 recruiting class in the conference. So yeah, definitely easy rebuild for them. But yeah, we'll throw the Spartans in medium. Next, UNLV. Solid. Very solid. I'll throw them in the easy category. 9-5 last season, 6-2 in conference play. Solid. 5th ranked recruiting class last season. I actually like this team. Like the jerseys, and I don't think they're far. I think this team could definitely could compete. I think they'll have a solid season. So we'll definitely throw them in the easy category. Next we have Air Force. Air Force went 9-4 last season. Air Force went 9-4 last season. They was ranked at one point, I believe. Air Force had a very solid season. We'll throw them in the medium category just because they are a military school. They do have some disadvantages, but their roster is not too far. Clearly, they're clearly doing something right. They're going 9-4, so we're gonna throw them in the medium category, man. Next, we're gonna do Wyoming. Where they at? There they go. We're going to throw Wyoming in the easy categories. Roster is not too far. 9-4 record, 5-3 in conference play. And they had the 6th ranked recruiting class last season. So they're solid, very solid. Next, we're going to do Fresno State. Another 9-4 team. Another very solid roster, man. Another easy rebuild. Easy to medium, I would say. Easy to medium, somewhere in that range. Located in a solid spot, man. 4-4 record in conference play. Recruiting class was 4th overall last season in the conference. So very solid, very solid. Next we'll do Utah. I'll throw Utah State in the medium category. Medium category just because their roster is pretty mediocre. You know, not super special. 6-7 last year overall record. 4-4 in conference play, and recruiting class wise, 8th overall in the conference. So you know, not super hard. I don't love the area they're in when it comes to recruiting, but you definitely could work with it. But next we'll do Hawaii. And we'll throw Hawaii in the too hard category. 5-8 last season, which is not terrible. 3-5 in conference play. But, you know, you're in Hawaii. You're literally separated from water from every other state. You know, tough recruiting athletes to Hawaii, I believe, you know, especially when, you know, top athletes. 10th in recruiting this past season. The only teams lower in the conference was Air Force and New Mexico for good reason. So definitely super tough. So yeah, so we'll throw Hawaii in the hard category. Next we got the Rams. Next we got Colorado State. Colorado State is a hard rebuild. I won't say too hard. You know, they kind of little brother of Colorado, Deion School. But they actually have some players. You know, they have a really good wide receiver that will play on Sundays. You know, their quarterback is also pretty solid. Last season they had a really good D lineman. They have some they have some athletes out there. They have some players. 5-7, like I said, 3-5 in conference play. Recruiting rankings, third ranked recruiting class, which is not terrible. Colorado is not great for top talent when it comes to athletes, but it's not terrible. Could be worse. So we'll go with hard for those guys. Next, Nevada. This is a tough one. This is too hard. This is a too hard right here. 2-10 last season, not a good roster. 2-6 in conference play. Not a good roster at all. 9th ranked recruiting class behind Hawaii, Air Force, and New Mexico. And next we have New Mexico. I think y'all could imagine where New Mexico will go on this list. Too hard. New Mexico is also a hard rebuild just because of the location. You know, it's gonna be tough to get some recruits out there. 4-8 last year, 2-6 in conference play. The worst recruiting class. They brought in 4 recruits. This has to be an error. They brought in 4 recruits last season. Is what On 3 is telling me. That's terrible. They brought in 2 3-stars. The rest unranked. Insane. Next we have San Diego State. Sean Lewis is now the head coach there. We'll go with hard for them guys. You know, I think this is a doable rebuild. The location is not terrible. You know, roster is just not in a good spot right now, to be honest. Roster is just not in a good spot. They do have the second ranked recruiting class coming in this cycle, but roster is just not in a great spot. But you certainly could get there. Certainly can get there. On to the next conference. So now on to last year's Pac-12. Last year's Pac-12. We'll start off with Colorado because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we start off with Colorado? Hot name, you know, Deion School, all that. I'll throw them in the medium category, you know. For me, it's almost a medium to too easy. We'll throw them in the too easy the more I think about it, just because how EA ranked them. EA had them ranked at, an 87 overall? Yeah, that's a too easy. 87 overall school. You know, actually have some solid talent on that roster, especially in some of the wide receiver rooms. You know, the secondary is also fairly talented. You know, in the trenches is where they struggle at. But there's definitely some talent on that roster. Definitely some guys that will play on Sunday. So we'll throw them in the easy category just because, you know, Deion has done the majority of your work there. Next, let's do Washington. You know, another easy. I want to do too easy. We'll do too easy. Too easy, you know, just because they're coming off a national championship run. You know, obviously didn't win it, but just coming off that run was great to see. But they did lose everything. Their quarterback, their head coach, but their roster will not be too far behind. You know, you definitely could get them back to where they have been. So we'll definitely put them in a too easy category. Next we'll do the Ducks. Too easy. Obviously, Dan Lanning has done all your work. You know, recruiting the top athletes in high school and then also the portal. all your work is done here. This is a team that should go out there and make the college playoffs the year one. Next, we'll do Arizona, and we'll put them in the easy category. This is another really good roster. Very good roster. Very good quarterback and wide receiver duo. This is a roster that can compete and, will compete to win the conference. Next, we'll do Oregon State. Beavers. We'll throw them in the easy category, man. This is another good roster. Not great, but this is a build that, you definitely could go very far. Definitely go very far with this team. We'll throw them in the easy category for sure. 8-5 last season, 5-4 in conference play. Next, we have Utah. Another easy school. A lot of these Pac-12 schools are easy, honestly. We'll when we get further down the list, we'll have some other things, but right now, Utah is another easy school. 8-5, 5-4 in conference play. Another just solid school. If they was in another conference, they may even have a better record. But just another team that's not super far away. Next, we'll do USC. Another easy in a great location. California. Who don't want to play in California? Who don't love that weather? Recruiting should not be difficult at all for this team. The roster is not super far. You just gotta fix the defense, honestly. If you figure out how to fix the defense, you are golden. Next, we'll do Kyle. Kyle's a medium for me. Kyle is definitely a medium for me. 6-7 last season. Also in a good spot. Also in a great spot. California, obviously. But just gotta get the talent there. And recruiting will get that done, but the roster is just not there yet. Next, we have UCLA, and I'll throw them in the medium category but they're actually coming off a very solid season last year, 8-5. Chip Kelly, the head coach, left. The recruiting class is not great from this past year at all, just because when your head coach leave, a lot of your athletes decide to leave with that. So roster is not as talented. They did lose their 5-star Moore, who transfer out. So, roster is just not in a great spot right now. So, we'll throw them in the medium category. Their location is great, though. Obviously, LA. Can't ask for more than that. Next, we'll do Arizona State. And we'll throw them in the hard category. Not a talented roster. 3-9 last season, 2-7 in conference play. A lot of work to be done with this program. I think it'll take a couple years to rebuild it. Same as Stanford. Stanford will go in the hard category. Stanford is far. One of the worst teams in the Pac-12 last season as far as overall record. I think they're definitely a far program. But they did beat Colorado last year, I believe. They did come back at the end and beat Colorado. I believe they were down like 35-0 at the end of the game. But regardless, this will be a hard rebuild for them guys. Next, we have Washington State. Will be a hard rebuild. They lost their quarterback, Cam Ward, I believe, transferred to, I forget what school, but he definitely transferred out. But definitely will be a hard rebuild. 5-7 last season, 2-7 in the conference. In an interesting location, you can do pretty well with the recruiting if done rightly. But on to the next one. All right, next we're on to the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt Conference. We're gonna start with James Madison. I see a lot of teams wanting to rebuild James Madison, and the school is not in a terrible spot. I feel like definitely not in a terrible spot in my opinion. We'll start with them and we'll throw them in the easy category. 11-2 last season, 7-1 in conference play. Roster is just not super far in my opinion. 10th overall ranked recruiting class last season, so we'll throw them in the easy category in my book. Appalachian State will also go in the easy category in my book. Throw them in the easy category. 9-5 last season, 6-2 in conference play. They're just not super far away. I think you'll enjoy rebuilding them. I think it'll be challenging, but I don't think it'll be super difficult. Next, we'll go with Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina. We'll throw them also in the easy category just because I think it's a fun school to rebuild. I love the field, love that field, love the jerseys. They went 8-5 last season, third overall ranked recruiting class. Solid roster. We'll throw them in the easier category, man. Who don't want? If you're a recruit, you don't want to play on the blue field. Come on, man. Next, we're gonna do Old Dominion. We're gonna do Old Dominion, put them in the medium category. Just a mediocre team, honestly. Mediocre team. 6-7 last season, 5-3 in conference play, which is not terrible. But the 13th ranked recruiting class, come on, man. 13th ranked recruiting class out of 14 schools. It's not good. That's not good. But we're gonna keep them in the medium category for now. Next, we're gonna go Georgia State. Georgia State, we're gonna keep those in the medium category as well. 7-6. 3-5 in on conference play, 11th ranked recruiting class. Certainly gotta do better than that. 11th ranked recruiting class, and you're in Georgia. I do not love that at all. Next, we're gonna do Marshall. Marshall will be a medium rebuild in my book. 6-7 overall record, 3-5 in conference, 8th overall recruiting class. Roster is not super terrible, but definitely good. Definitely a lot of work to do there. Definitely will be a fun rebuild. Actually love their colors, love their jerseys, love what they have going on. But definitely should be a fun rebuild. Georgia Southern is the next school we'll do, and they will also be a medium for me, man. A lot of schools in this conference, the Sun Belt, are mediums just because they're honestly mediocre programs, and not terrible, not great, but just good enough to be medium. And they bring in the 7th ranked recruiting class from this past cycle, 25 athletes, which is very solid. But it's just a medium school for me. Not nothing special right now. Definitely would be a fun rebuild. Next, we have Troy, and we'll throw Troy in the easy category. Troy in the easy category. Good roster. Good roster for this conference at least. 11-3, 7-1 in conference play, 2nd overall ranked recruiting class, and they're in a good area, and they're in a good area when it comes to recruiting. So yeah, definitely a easy rebuild in my opinion. Next, we do Texas State, and for me, that will also be another easy rebuild on the easier side. You're in Texas. You're in Texas, man. Do much need to be said? You could dominate recruiting in your own state, and you're great. Like you're great. They went 8-5 last season, 4-4 in conference play, 5th overall ranked recruiting class, so solid. Next, we do South Alabama. South Alabama, we'll throw them in the medium category. Another Alabama school, but they're better than UAB, and went 7-6 last season, 4-4 in conference play, bringing in the 4th ranked recruiting class. Just a solid team. Nothing over the top, but I think it'll be a medium rebuild for you guys, man. Medium rebuild, in my opinion. Next, we do Arkansas State. Arkansas State brought in a lot of athletes this year. We'll throw them in the medium category. They brought in 29 recruits this past cycle, 6th ranked recruiting class, man. 6th ranked recruiting class, and they went 6-7 last season. So just a mediocre program, but yeah, definitely could rebuild them guys. But yeah, we'll throw them in the medium category. The Raising Cane's, Louisiana. This is an interesting program. Interesting program in my opinion. 6-7 last season, 3-5 in conference. But they have the worst recruiting class in the state, which I think is crazy. You're in Louisiana, and you only bring in 10 athletes. And you have the worst recruiting class in your conference, which is kind of crazy to me. But they went 6-7 last season, which is, not terrible. Still towards the bottom of the conference, but I think you could, if you're just able to do better with recruiting and be competitive in recruiting, I think you could turn this program around, in a few years. So I'm definitely going to put them in the medium category. Now we have Southern Miss. And I'll throw them in the hard category. I think they're in a solid area when it comes to recruits. They brought in the number one recruiting class for this past cycle, so that says a lot. But still put them in the hard category. They went 3-9 last season, 2-6 in conference play, but just not a great roster right now. And the last school in this conference, UL Monroe, and 2-10 last season, 0-8 in the conference play. Not a great roster. Not a great roster right now. Another Louisiana school though. Another Louisiana school, but not a good one. not a good Louisiana school at all. So yeah, I'll throw them in the too hard category just because they're probably the smallest school in Louisiana and probably the worst school in Louisiana. Division I at least right now. So yeah, definitely in the too hard category. It's sad to see a Louisiana school in the too hard category. Just when so much talent in the area, but is what it is. And then we have two schools, Kennesaw State and Kansas. Kennesaw State will also be in the too hard category, just because they're a new program to FBS. Came over from the lower SCS level, and they're currently ranked at 71 overall in the game. That's tough. That is not great. 71 overall is not great at all. But we'll put them in the too hard category. They're in Georgia, so there's a lot of talent in that area. But I think it would be a fun rebuild. And then lastly, we'll throw Kansas, KU in the medium category. Really a basketball school, but not too terrible. And that's the list, man. That's the list. Took a while. If y'all made this far in the video, shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. Let me know in the comment if you made this far in the video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and listen. I really appreciate y'all for watching.